Hello, Jennifer Volbrecht here. I'm here with another book review, and today I will be reviewing a book by Brene Brown, Atlas of the Heart. It's Atlas of the Heart, Mapping Meaningful Connection and the Language of Human Experience. I had to really collect my thoughts on this book because I have a lot of thoughts, and um, in this time, this is filmed in April of 2022, and so in this world that we're in right now, this kind of COVID, post-COVID, virtual metaverse type of world, I think I've been drawn towards human experiences and human connections, and what is missing in the virtual world that you can't recreate with human experiences. And so I was really interested in reading this book. What I love about Brene Brown as an author is that she's a researcher, she's a PhD researcher, and a very talented storyteller. And so for me, it makes her reading and her research very accessible when she tells the research in a very rigorous sort of way. So this is how I collected the data, and this is what I did with my team, and this is how we analyzed the data. But there's also a story that goes along with it. And so she'll share either a firsthand experience from herself or from a team member. And so for me, it makes it very relatable. Another thing that I'll note about this book, Atlas of the Heart, is that it needs to be consumed in paper book format. No audiobooks, no Kindles or e-readers. This book is very beautiful. It's beautifully constructed with pictures and quotes and different call outs. And so it's very much a book and a work of art. And so I highly recommend you have to read this book in paperback form. And so the concept of the book, the Atlas of the Heart, is that it's a compilation of emotions. So she names 87 different emotions and then tells a story about each one and what it might feel like to experience this emotion, how the emotion is communicated, and maybe even some dispelling some misconceptions about an emotion. I learned a lot about the difference between envy and jealousy, for instance, and so the root of each emotion and how they're experienced. So even now, after I've read the book, I know that I can use this book as a reference. If I'm feeling something and I can't quite communicate it, I can always go back to the book. So because there's 87 different emotions, and Brene Brown is a researcher, and this book feels like it's the pinnacle of her research efforts. So there's years and years and years of her prior research, and she cites a lot of colleagues and cites a lot of books. So I also have a note for myself to go through this book again and tag all the different books and articles that I need to also read in addition to this book. So it's also kind of like a gateway into a whole nother rabbit hole of books that I'll add to my pile in the future. The other thing was that because we're going through all kinds of different emotions, some are happy and some are sad and some are bad and some are good, is that the book feels like a roller coaster. And so when I read the book, I was on vacation in Mexico, and I'm reading poolside, and it's not exactly a beach read. It's actually, pretty detailed and research heavy, but I chose to read it on vacation. And there were some times where you're going through the darker emotions, and I felt like I needed to put the book down and process, like, oh yes, I have felt that emotion before, and I remember exactly how it felt, and now I see a picture that maps out why I was feeling that way. And so it is very much a roller coaster ride, going through all the different emotions that she names. And then just one other tidbit, I learned 2 new words that I have been trying to reflect on and think about in my daily life. And one of them is, one of the words is Schadenfreude. This is a fun word, Schadenfreude. And the definition is pleasure derived from someone else's suffering. And so that made me reflect, like, ew, I do not like Schadenfreude. If I think that I'm experiencing that, or if I'm reflecting Schadenfreude, then I want to know what's going on inside of me. On the opposite side of that, my new favorite word is called Freudenfreude. It's like the opposite. And so Freudenfreude is the enjoyment of other people's success. And so as I was reading that, I was thinking like, wow, that really aligns with my values and how I want to depict myself is Freudenfreude. So celebrating and being genuinely happy for other people's success. And so that was one of the many tidbits, takeaways from Atlas of the Heart, something that, like I said, I highly recommend reading the book, holding it as a reference, and using it to focus on meaningful human face-to-face connections. And that is it for today. Thanks.